Welcome back to the channel, everybody. What have we got going on here today? Well, I'm building a pipe anvil, which is basically a poor man's sheet metal slip rolls. And so what I'm doing is I've got the main center on this thing is a chunk of 4-inch ID, looks like Schedule 80 pipe, galvanized pipe. It's about 4.5 inches outside diameter. Then I've got a here to the left is a 3-inch diameter, and then on the right, I believe that's 1.5 or 2-inch diameter. And so I'm going to have these welded together. The idea behind this is, number one, you can see I've got a, whoop, come on, focus. I've got a washer on each end clamped in there. And what that does is provide a gap. So you can slide your metal in there, and then you can form your cylindrical shapes around the pipe. The small one, the big one, the intermediate one, whatever you're trying to do, cylindrical shapes. And first of all, and I've got to say, this particular design is not mine. In fact, if you Google pipe anvil or go on the YouTube search engine and type in pipe anvil, you'll see a variety of fabricators, pop up. And this particular design I filched from Vise's Fabrications up in Newfoundland, Canada. I'll leave a link in the description to his channel. He's a hot rod builder, race car builder, sheet metal guy, and his style is he's minimalist. He doesn't have a shop full of fancy tools. He just has basic hand tools, and whatever he needs, he builds. And in this case, he built a pipe anvil, and I like the design. I'm going to modify it a little bit, but I borrowed his idea, and so this is 30 inches long, and then when you account for the washers, I think the working width is going to be about 28 inches, which is plenty for what I'm going to do. I mean, you can make these things bigger, but when you're talking heavier gauge metal and a long length, at my age, I'm not quite man enough anymore to be wrestling too much with that. So 28-inch working length would be about what I would want to handle. Anything more than that, and then you're looking at a slip roll. But I don't have deep pockets. I'm a retired guy on a pension, so I can't go out and buy thousands of dollars worth of fabrication tools. I just got to do with what I got. In this case, what I got is scrap pipe, which is going to work just fine for a pipe anvil. And primary reason I'm building this is because I've got this guy right here that I keep talking about. My very first video featured this thing. George, the Shade Tree Fix-It man, he said, hey, shoot a video of that, share that thing, and so I did, and then I've ignored it since. I keep working on other stuff. Well, as you can see, I just got an engine sitting there, which I'm going to tear into shortly on another video. And I'm going to utilize some of the existing shroud that goes with that, but I've got to fabricate some metal shrouding and grill work and whatever else. I might stretch the frame on it because I got ideas for add-ons. So that's one of the reasons why I'm manufacturing the pipe anvil. And I've got to make some dimple dies too. I'll show that later on. And also another idea I filched right there, the holder for my MIG gun. I borrowed that idea from Arco at Outlaw Edge, Minnesota Outlaw Customs. I watch a lot of his videos, and there on his workbench, he's got his MIG holder clamped to his bench, and I looked at that and I thought, hey, that's a good idea. I'm always, looking for a place to put the MIG gun and it falls on the floor and blah blah blah. So I cobbled that together, my ancient C-clamp vice grips there, and I bought those new about 45 years ago, and they were getting a little tired for everyday fabrication use, but they work good for a clamp to hold a MIG gun holder on the bench. So there you go. So at any rate, I've got to quit jabbering here, and let's get started. By the way, on a safety note, this pipe is galvanized. So if you can see the shiny spot where I've got the vice grips clamped, I ground the galvanizing off because that gives off a real noxious gas. When you put weld heat to it, it'll make you pretty sick. If you do happen to get poisoned by it, you drink a glass of milk and that'll help settle your stomach down, but that's really not a proper fix for galvanized poisoning. You just want to, I recommend you just avoid it altogether. Grind the galvanized off. I've got my big shop door open for ventilation, and so we should be good to go. Sorry about the fan noise. I went ahead and fired up my big shop fan to help ventilate. I was getting a little too much galvanized smoke in the breathing zone, and you know, I don't want to breathe that stuff and get sick, so we added a little extra ventilation. Hello. Watch the trigger. One side done. All right, I got some Gorilla Glob welds on there. Those washers are now welded to each pipe and providing a sufficient gap between the two to slip some sheet metal in there. And she's welded up on both ends. Sorry, I'm using my Canon camera today, and you know, the focus has a mind of its own. But anyway, you can see some of that white residual stuff there. That's galvanized, and that's what Come on, focus. That's what you end up breathing if you don't take precautions, and it'll make you sick. So, all right, the next thing to do is get this other clamp, pipe clamped on there, and got my 2 washers here, and we'll weld those on, and then we'll have the body of the pipe anvil complete. You got to be careful. This is still hotter than a $2 pistol using 5-cent ammunition. Yeah, let's have a look. Pretty good. So I'm going to shut the camera off because with the welder noise and the fan noise, and you already saw me weld one of the joints, so it's just rinse and repeat, so no point in boring you with that. Okay, that's all welded up. We'll probably do a little bit of grinding work here on the ends where I got a little Gorilla Glob built up, but they're all welded up. So now I got to figure out how tall to make the legs. Now I like the working height of my welding bench here. Your height is going to vary. I'm 5'9". This is a good height for me. Someone who's 6'4" probably wouldn't work. So from my floor to the bottom of the main pipe here is 33¼ inches. So that tells me how tall my stand should be. The top is 38 inches, which is actually, that's belly button height for me. That's about right. You know, when I'm working a piece of sheet metal, I'm not stooped over, I'm not, you know, stretching my back out, so I think that's going to work good. So I need to cut some legs, some leggage, 33¼ Now I got to go out into my stock and see what I have. I think I got some more of this diameter here, which is 2 7/8, which should work good for a set of legs. So that's the next step in our construction of the pipe anvil. By the way, a couple of videos back I happened to pan by my Craftsman Vise here, and I got a couple of comments about my soft jaws in there. I made a pair of those for Arco at Outlaw Edge because he has the exact same vise, and I thought, well, I'll just knock together a pair for my vise as well. Well, Paul from the Knackler's workshop over in the UK made a comment, and he said, hey, sometime how about showing the process how I made these? And I thought, hey, that's a good idea. That'd make for an interesting video. However, right now I'm temporarily out of stock with my 3/16 aluminum, or aluminium, as some of our friends across the pond say. But I will do that. I will. I'll get some more material, and I'll feature manufacturing the Vise soft jaws. And George, Shade Tree Fix-It Man, I believe you have the same vise. So if I do a demonstration video and make another set of soft jaws, if you want them, I'll be happy to mail them on to you. So in the near future, when I get some more aluminum stock, I'll do a video on making Vise soft jaws. Okay, here we are. I didn't have any 2 7/8 in stock, or enough of it. I got a big piece there.
on that little wagon, but it's pretty rusted out in spots, so not suitable for what I want to do. But I had some 2 3/8 in stock, so I'm going to use that. So I had to adjust my measurements. What did we say? 33. It was actually 33 3/8, and then I subtract 1 diameter of this because I'm going to have a cross leg underneath, similar to what you see on my outside workbench there. So this is 31 inches long, and now I'm getting ready to cope this pipe, because what we have to do, since this is going to be a leg and it's got to mate up to this, we've got to cope it to account for the radius here, so we've got a tight fit. Now, you know, I'm not going to get into a bunch of mathematics and angles and dangles and all that kind of stuff. It's just, for what it is, it's going to be good enough. So what I did was, number one, you find the center of your pipe on both ends, on the top and bottom, and I just did that using my old combination square. And you just set it on there and then measure the distance from the outside of the pipe to the blade of the combination square, half the distance of the diameter. And then you make your mark there. And then you mark up here 1/2 inch up from the end, all the way around. And then what I'm going to do, and again, this is a trick that I stole from Fitzy at Fitzy's Fabrications. You set your leg in the vise. In this case, I set it at 30-degree angle. And you'll see how this all makes sense in a minute. So I just took my little square there, and if you can see, probably not, there's the 30-degree angle mark right there. So from the pivot point here to the 30-degree mark there, I just eyeballed it and set the pipe in the vise parallel to that angle on the square. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the grinder and I'm going to cut where I marked 1/2 inch right there. I'm going to hold the grinder vertical, not perpendicular, just vertical, straight up and down, and because I've already got the angle established in the vise, and I'm going to cut this straight down. And then what that will do is that will cope the end of this pipe. And I'll go ahead and set the camera up and show you. And if you got a chop saw, you can do this on a chop saw. Just set the angle of your vise on the chop saw and do it. I don't have a chop saw, so I'm going to do it with what I got, and just you know, a big construction vise and an angle grinder. So let me set up the camera and I'll get this done. Okay, noise alert. Again, I'm just going to hold this grinder as close to perpendicular as I can on the pipe, and then just cut straight down.
la. Okay. So as you can see, I've got 1/2 of the cope established. I'll flip this over, and the cut came down pretty close to center line on the pipe. So I'll flip this pipe over 180 degrees, do the same thing on the other side, then I'll repeat that at the opposite end. And then this is rough cutting, and then you clean it up with a file or a grinder to get it to seat good against the main body of the frame of the pipe anvil. Alright, I got one end of the pipe leg coped, and I've got it sitting on the main pipe of the pipe anvil. As you can see, I did a center line all the way down the length of the pipe. And then I still have my center line marks when I was laying it out to cut the cope on the leg. And so I line those marks up with the center line of the pipe on both sides. That you probably can't see because I got my magnet in the way. Well, that's to center it up. And as you can see, now there's a little gap. You may, if you do this, you may have to do a little grinding and work, but the ends, it's kind of dark in there. You really can't see. The inside of the pipe, the inner wall, is actually touching this. It's the outside that has the little bit of the gap there. And you can see a little daylight through there, but it's not bad. I may dress this up a little more with a grinder and get it to fit a little snug, more snug, but it's certainly weldable as is. I also took another square this way, and measure across this way. I'm 3 inches, and I'm 3 inches. So she's plumb straight up and down. It's aligned on the center of the main body of the pipe anvil. She's square this way because I've got a magnet, 90-degree magnet on there. So now all I got to do is cope the other end so I can put a leg across here. And actually, this mark is in the wrong place. I got to move it over 90 degrees because the leg is going crossways to this guy. So, glad I caught that. That would have been an ugly mistake. Anyway, so, yeah. Sorry, this Canon camera has got an autofocus that's got a mind of its own. So there we go. Now you see how I cope pipe to mate to another pipe. Doesn't matter what diameters you're working with. Just no fancy stuff. Just a grinder and a tape measure and a square, and away you go. And you're fabricating. So this is getting kind of long, so I think I'm going to create this in 2 sections. I think I'm going to stop it right here because it's dinner time and I'm hungry, and so I'm just going to quit right here. I'll pick this up again tomorrow, so this will be a 2-parter on manufacturing a pipe anvil, and then the second part I'll share the modifications I will do to this that's different from Fitzy's design, and a couple others. So anyway, there you go. We'll pick this up again in part 2.